Good evening. Let's see who's going to join us, and let's have a talk. Let's see. And wait to build an audience. We did a little talk tonight. FERQ. We're going to talk about FERQ. And we're going to talk, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this thing positioned. We're going to talk about FERQ. We're going to talk about the Heartland Institute. Good evening, everyone. We're going to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. And then we're going to talk about the end of the world. Is it tomorrow? Hey, everybody's joining. This is great. All right. This is a good night. Friday night. This is Sandy, jealous, and let's get started. All right. So here's the news. The news is this. There's a lot going on, and I kind of want to continue the discussion that I had the other night about this climate denier, but I don't want to talk about them. I really don't want to talk about them specifically. I would like to, tonight, start with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, because it kind of folds into all of the other things that are happening. And hi, Lynn. Hi, Kim. Hello, everyone. I want to say hi to everybody. But it kind of folds into what we're talking about. We'll start with Donald Trump's nominee to head FERQ, because it's just so indicative of all the bullshit that's going on and all the corruption that's going on in that administration. And as I was looking through the news and I'm looking through all this stuff, it just really did strike me that the nominee to head the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, he's a corporate attorney, and what is his name? Kevin McIntyre, right? Now, Kevin McIntyre, he's a lawyer. He leads the global energy practice for the legal and lobbying firm Jones Day, and is currently awaiting the final Senate confirmation of his appointment to be the FERQ head, right? All right. So I thought it would be great to start, because the corruption is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. And it's just like so overwhelming that, my smile is a smile of like, it's disbelief usually. The things I read, it's disbelief. What I wanted to do is just give you a few of these companies that this guy submitted to the Office of Government Ethics. Reveals that in the past 2 years alone, he has represented various energy and utility companies, and some of these are regulated by FERQ or have projects seeking FERQ approval. Now, you guys tell me, how corrupt is this? How corrupt is this? One is Ameren Corporation, American Electric Power Service Corporation, Lakeside Energy, Navajo Transitional Energy Company, the Scana Corporation, TECO, Traverse Midstream Partners, Ascent Resources, Enable Midstream Partners, EDF Energy Services, PT Zindia Indonesia, SOCAR Trading, Total Petrochemical and Refining in the USA, and Iberdrola Renovables, Mexico, which is a Mexican subsidiary of Spanish electric utility giant Iberdrola, which is in Mexico. Now, we know that FERQ, right, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, is the commission that is approving these pipelines. We have worked with this. Sorry about this, guys. I still have not gotten myself whatever you call it, thing to put my camera on when I sit outside. Anyway, so FERQ, they approve pipelines. They approve energy projects, and especially the fracking pipelines. So they want this guy. It is a clear violation of ethics principles in our country for this guy to be the head of FERQ. And we already know that they rubber stamp these projects to begin with, right? Right? Wendy's going grr, grr again. I can't show your things tonight because I didn't use Be Live. I want to be outside. And so, yeah, I have a selfie stick. I need a tripod. That's what I need if I want to be outside. So anyway, let me read you one of these. This one is American Electric Power Service Corporation, which is a Columbus, Ohio, based electric utility supplying customers throughout the Midwest and Southwest U.S. The company owns 60 power generating facilities, of which coal-fueled plants account for approximately 40% of AEP's generating capacity, while natural gas represents 27% and nuclear 7%. So this guy, this lawyer guy, he is representing all of these companies. Is this who we want as the head of FERQ? Really, tell me, is this who we want as the head of FERQ? It's just pathetic. And this was just his financial disclosure, you know, this financial disclosure. Just like when they were doing the hearings for Scott Pruitt, and all of these people had such questionable background, and they still got approved. So this is just one more in a pathetic string of appointments that are happening in our country. In our country that is just getting corrupt to the core. Corrupt to the core. And everything I read and everything I listen to, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, it's like every day it gets sicker and sicker. But FERQ is a very important entity for us, in, you know, people that are in the activist community that are fighting pipelines for the Native American community, because FERQ will rubber stamp all of these pipelines to go through communities, and a lot of those communities are Native American communities, and I have got to give a shout out to those people that are fighting, and our Native American population that are right on, and they are fighting. They have picked up since Standing Rock, and they have picked up the fight in so many states against these pipelines. In Line 5, Enbridge Line 5, where Desmond is fighting against, and Wakapi she's fighting against Line 3. But all of these things have to go through FERQ first. And again, I've talked about this before, how the states are all different, you know. A lot of states are different. Now, New York State is now in a fight. You know, I did that. We talked about the pissing match between FERQ and New York State because of that CPV frack gas plant and that pipeline that New York said no, and then FERQ said yes. And oh my gosh, welcome Patrick McNulty. Patrick is somebody who's joined us. FERQ is only as good as the people who run it. And we are going to see that it's going to be a bunch of corrupted, probably climate denying types that really don't care. All they want to do is make money for the 1%ers. It's just going to go on and on and on. So this guy, this idiot, I don't even have to say his name again. I don't even want to say his name again, but I will. McIntyre. Kevin McIntyre. Don't forget it, because we really don't want him. Hello, Steve. Okay, Patrick. Obviously, it's going to be. We know. So I wanted to start out with FERQ because I'm actually going to fold into a couple of things. FERQ then folds into some more corruption. And that corruption is in the EPA. So we're moved from FERQ to the EPA. And the EPA, we published this article. It's just pathetic. It was from E&E News, which is really a very good resource that they are an environmental business resource, but you have to have a subscription. I've already blown through 2 subscriptions that were for free, and then they sent me a bill. They said, oh, well, if you want to get our stuff, it's like $3,000 a year. And I'm like, I spit out my coffee. I'm like, oh, I don't think so. I don't know if I can do this. So I kind of try to glom onto whenever I can, because their articles really are good, and they've got wonderful people. Climate Wire and E&E News. It's all energy stuff, and they're very, very unbiased. They're clean, So the Heartland Institute, Libertarians. I call the Libertarians the party of the scorched earth, right? These people, it says, the Heartland Institute has found an ally in the U.S. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, as he seeks to portray climate science as a debate. Now, I talked about this the other night when I was talking about Dr. Tim Balls and his climate nonsense. Nonsense and debunked bullshit that these people are just spewing to the American public to try to scare them. Well, actually, what? Scare them? I don't want to scare them, but these people that that deny that climate change exists, or they think it's a way to debate climate change and debate science? No. It's not going to happen. So, while a number of conservative think tanks employ scientists or economists to discredit mainstream climate scientists, this Illinois-based Heartland Institute has a stable of them. Now, where do they get them? Where do they get these people? You know where they get them? They get them when they're young. They get them from the colleges, and they go in there and they say, you want your education paid for, or do you want to come out of school with a job? And they're going to pay a lot of money. They're going to pay a lot of money. And then that's how the corruption begins. You take a young mind and you corrupt them with money. So, this 45, I can't stand to call him anything else, may give the Libertarian group its greatest influence in years. In the field of climate scientists, researchers determined decades ago, we know this, that humans are warming the planet at an unprecedented rate through the burning of fossil fuels. Who doesn't know this? Who doesn't know this? And if you don't know it, you're ignorant. And if you know it and you want to debate it, you're ignorant. So, Pruitt has questioned these foundational findings, claiming instead that humanity's influence is uncertain and should be debated publicly. Debated publicly. We've heard this, but every time I read these articles, it just makes me want to puke. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. The Heartland Institute is the leading think tank in promoting the work of scientists and economists and others who are skeptical that man is causing a climate crisis. Naturally, they reached out to us, and we're looking for those kind of people, those kind of scientists, those kind of economists, those kind of ethically challenged people. Ethically challenged, morally challenged. Or they're brainwashed. Or they've, grown up in that kind of atmosphere. Ugh. It's just horrible. So, some think tanks in Washington portray climate science as a debatable topic, and some have scientists on staff. Heartland is smaller, and they say it's like the scrappier cousin, right? That favors a more aggressive form of climate contrarianism, right? This year, Heartland sent they'll get to this one. Oh my God. Sent thousands of science teachers across the country a curriculum in alternative climate science that highlights uncertainties, an effort the group has pursued since at least 2012. It also held a conference near the White House this spring where some speakers accused federal researchers of fraud. That's pretty serious. And I'm not talking about that climate gate, which I actually have my own thoughts about why it happened. You know, that whole thing where they said the scientists were fudging the data to make climate change look real, which it is. I have a theory. And I have a theory that they didn't fudge the data. I have a theory that they were petrified that their data would get taken, that their data would get obfuscated, that their data would get stolen, whatever. I don't have enough information. That's just something I feel personal, okay? A personal thing. So these people, they held a conference near the White House where the speakers accused them of fraud. In 2015, they sent a delegation to the Vatican in an attempt to sway Pope Francis from his concerns about climate change. This little ballsy Heartland Institute. You know who they're backed by, right? Who are the Libertarians? Who are they backed by, guys? Koch brothers? Koch brothers? Who have finally gotten their grubby mitts in the White House? They published a book comparing societal belief in climate change to a prophecy that instructed a tribe to massacre its livestock. More than 35,000 people died of starvation, and some survivors were enslaved. Heartland also publishes a comprehensive volume of research, the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change, which seeks to rebut the United Nations International Governmental Panel on Climate Change. So we know that, the IPCC is considered the leading authority on climate science, right? And there's a lot of controversy surrounding their climate science too, because some say that they're very conservative. But this Heartland is, they're kind of slimy, huh? They called theirs the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change. Slimy. Pretty slimy. But I will say they lost about $1 billion in donations after they posted a billboard comparing those who believe in global warming to Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, according to the group Climate Truth, which ran a campaign against Heartland, encouraging sponsors to drop the organization. Well, I've read some of the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski stuff. The guy knew what he was talking about. He may have been a whack job, but he was very attuned to the earth. The guy was attuned. He knew things. And it's crazy, but I do not say that what he did was right. But Kaczynski had some writings that, when people say it was crazy, they made some sense. I read them not long ago. So, an entire division of Heartland conducting research on the insurance industry walked away amid that fallout. So they've had some problems, but they're really being resurrected. They took $4.6 million in contributions in 2015, according to their most recent financial documents. So they're very little. They're very little. And they don't have the sort of funding that normally yields a lot of policy influence. But they're gearing up for a period under Trump when attacking the science stands to heighten its exposure. So we now know that this little Heartland Institute, which you got to watch out for, slimy, sleazy, is going to try to weasel their way into mainstream thinking. And they're all over Fox TV, I bet. Although I don't watch Fox, I can't really tell you for sure. And they have lost major sponsors. State Farm and General Motors, they once funded Heartland, but They said goodbye because they are unorthodox. But nevertheless, they have a generous benefactor with an enthusiasm for fringe science, and the guy's name is Robert Mercer. The conservative hedge fund manager has donated more than $5 million to the group in recent years, and he was also a major booster of the Trump campaign, with close ties to the former White House advisor Steve Bannon. So Mercer funds Breitbart also. So what a web they weave, these people. What a web of corruption, deceit, lying. They really want a population of people that are going to just pretty much say, we can go on fossil fuel forever. We can burn CO2 forever. Because their scientists say, oh, it's good for the plants. Oh my God, CO2 just makes trees, they grow. Despite all of the evidence that we have. So I just wanted to talk about the Heartland Institute a little bit, because they are leaving behind inflammatory rhetoric, and they want to take on the mainstream climate science in a serious academic way. And so they're trying to do some meticulous research, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. There are prominent climate scientists who have challenged the mainstream. They don't want to work with Heartland at all. So let's just listen to their name. Let's just keep them in our mind. Heartland Institute. Okay, so now I had another article I wanted to try to find, if I can, without making you guys sit and wait through my, looking for it. I have so many articles that are open, but let's going to go, let's segue to Leonardo, okay, because this guy visited Trump, right? We know that, and he just donated $20 million to battle climate change, and he actually talked about what he said when he met Trump. He said he was going to give $20 million to climate change charities, and he took a swipe at Donald Trump in the process. Anybody that does that, I like. Actor or not, he's giving the money. He cares. Look, we have an actor in the White House, for God's sake. So, he went and he met with him, and Trump told him that the Paris Agreement was unfair to the American worker, and he'd rather focus on steel, coal, and manufacturing sectors. But DiCaprio, he presented a plan as well as part of the basis for his future contributions, focusing on harnessing the economic potential of green jobs, which is really where we need to go. Even if it's just for the time that we have left on the planet. We have to do everything we can. And Patrick, if you're still with us, we will do an interview with you. And I am working on my connection, and it's going to happen. I have several interviews I'm going to be doing soon. At a dig at Mr. Trump, DiCaprio commented that though the president appears undeterred on the topic, in light of the devastation caused by Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria, he still believes the U.S. has potential to lead the world on this issue. We can only hope that the president begins to see it too before it's too late. Me think that I think Leonardo was a little bit too starry-eyed. I think he's a little bit too innocent and naive that he thinks that he... Kim says, actor, I just puked a little in my mouth. Yeah, but he gave $20 million. He's going to give money. And that's, good. It's a good thing. Let them use that money they earn. They earn so much money. They become 1%ers. Let them, I'm not going to turn. Would you turn down $20 million if you worked for a climate scientist agency that hired you? A nonprofit? Would you turn it down? No. So this foundation that DiCaprio did is already earned nearly $80 million. They've made nearly $80 million in grants towards assisting organizations working on various efforts to combat climate change around the world since 2008. He says, the utter lack of leadership by officials who prefer to preserve their short-term political power rather than ensuring the livable future on our planet means that we all must do more than any other time in history. That's why I'm out here every day. Patrick says, sound good. We can bypass these people if we build the OMTEC and drive them off the ground. And I know that's your ocean, the thermal technology, and we are going to, I promise, I'm finally going to have time to get a lot more people on to interview. I think I've got everything fixed. And that's going to be a good thing. That's really going to be a good thing. So now we're going to segue into the end of the world. Because the world is supposed to end tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, I think planet Nibiru is supposed to hit us, or a big asteroid. Well, listen to this one. So after all this stuff that we heard in the news about these conspiracy things, this Nibiru and all this. Well, guess what? The guy named David Mead, who got all of this, how he generated all of this, I don't know. But he's a self-described specialist in research and investigation. He predicts the rapture as foretold in the book of Revelations that'll begin on Saturday. What a bummer doomsday. Couldn't at least fall on Monday. According to USA Today. Kills me. Then there is no scientific evidence to support Mead's theory that a planet X he calls Nibiru is headed towards Earth. But that hasn't stopped him from spreading the word, and that hasn't stopped a lot of people that like Alex Jones from picking it up, right? I can't help but laugh, I'm sorry. I just can't. There's a lot of scenarios where the world, our planet really is in trouble. Nuclear war. That's one of them. Of course, I talk about climate change all the time. Overpopulation. And I do talk about that. We're going to go from, 7 billion to 11.2 billion by the year 2100, if we're around. That's scary. Global pandemics. Biological weapons, super volcanoes. Some people have said the sun. So that's what's in the news. That was what was on my mind. I wanted to talk about FERQ and the corruption. I wanted to talk about the Heartland Institute and the fact that those little weasels are going to try to get into the mainstream media even more. And I wanted to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. No matter, what you guys think of his acting, what you think of him, the guy is giving his money away. He's giving his money to all of these different agencies. And they're not agencies. Okay, they're not agencies of the government. They're nonprofits. You're going to say no? Again, you're going to say no? For research we desperately need to keep going, that the government's not going to do? The National Oceanic NOAA, they're getting cut. And in wake of hurricanes, fires, we're going to cut satellites. The United States is going to cut satellites so we can't tell what's going on. I know Macron, what was his name? Macron in France said that any of our climate scientists can come to France and work there. Well, I don't know if that's actually happened, but I do know that the EPA, back in July, that was reported that the EPA was kicking out scientists that were actually the good ones, right? So we have a moral and ethical dilemma in our country, a very big one. I happen to think that we are in deep, deep trouble. And I happen to think that we are already in the Anthropocene, and these abrupt climate change occurrences are going to keep happening. However, as I always say, even if we are, we still have today. We still have tomorrow. And we still have to do everything we can do to fight the fascism in our government, to keep climate scientists to have the ability to continue their research. And we have to stay strong against these climate denying whack jobs. Sorry, uncontroversial. Climate denying, morally and ethically challenged whack jobs. Like Dr. Tim Balls. Oh, there's another one. Dr. Soon. Look him up, Dr. Soon. Oh boy. He happens to be one. What a piece of work that one is. So, you hear you can hear me at night. You can hear the echo. Hear it? Pretty cool. And you probably just saw my big mouth on the film. I'm in a pretty good mood tonight, but it's just because I can't help but find humor and pathos in all of that I read. It's pathetic. All right, well, here's another thing, guys. I am not off of Facebook jail. I need you guys to help me by sharing this. Share this to 10 groups, each one of you. Share them to groups. Help me. Help me get the word out that people have to watch what's going on with FERQ, because if we don't pay attention, they're going to steal everything from us. They're going to build the pipelines. They're going to get a bunch of corrupt assholes in there under this lawyer, this ethically challenged. That's a new one for me. Morally and ethically challenged. And that's what I'm going to call these people, morally and ethically challenged, because they are. And the other night I was really saying I didn't want to talk about them as climate deniers anymore. And Dean came on, Dean Spillane Walker, and he came on and said, how about planet killers? Murderers, like I say. They are murderers. Because if you look at what's happened in the devastation that's happened in Puerto Rico, and you look at the devastation that happened in Barbuda, and you look at what happened in Houston, and the quakes. Kim said the quake in Northern California today, the earthquakes in Mexico, and the fires and everything else. You can't help but say we're in trouble. I don't want to say biblical proportions, because then that just feeds into the people that believe in planet Nibiru and, the giant asteroid that's going to hit us that there is no scientific evidence of. So, I have one other thing. I don't know if anybody knows how to fix this, but I went onto my Facebook Messenger, and Facebook is screwing with me. Because I turn it on, and then it just goes off. Turn it on, and it goes off. And it does it on my phone, and it does it on my iPad. So, something happened today. I don't know what happened with my Messenger, but it is pretty screwed up. Just goes on and goes off. So I deleted the app on both of my my iPad and my iPhone, and I'm hoping that I can fix it, because I still communicate with the team. I still communicate with my friends. I'd like to kick Facebook right off the face of the earth for me. But if I just go on YouTube, I don't know, would you all follow me? Would you? I want to get help with the Twitter page. And it's not just me. Environmental Coffee House has Desmond. And Kevin is in England, Kevin Gilbert, and he's going to start talking about and going to the camp, the anti-fracking camp. So we have a lot that's going to go on. Facebook really shouldn't kick me to the curb. So let's hope they don't. I'll figure out what's wrong with Messenger. And Wendy says she's still helping my friends move from the hurricane. Oh, Wendy. Wendy. I don't want to get... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all the people and all the animals and all of them that are hurting. I donated a whole bunch of money that I really don't have to the animal effort in Barbuda. Yes, and Kim's asking, does YouTube have live chat? Oh, yeah. I could do all my live streams over on the Environmental Coffee House YouTube. And I could actually kick Facebook to the curb. I just don't know how that would be yet, because Facebook is messing with me, but I can't figure out if it, again, I had it on my personal page, if it is that I was sharing too fast, or is it more nefarious than that? And did somebody report me because they don't like what I'm saying? But if they did, and they don't like what I'm saying, that means I'm making a point and I'm going somewhere. Absolutely. They don't like it. They don't like what I'm saying. And I'm not saying anything different than thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. And here's one little last thing before I let you go. I opened a little, it's not me. I just take out this little space in a little shop in my little conservative Republican town. Okay? And today was my day to work. So it's not work because, man, I can't work. And my back is pretty messed up. Like, I got to sit down again. But it was my day to man the store, okay? People came in today, and I was talking to a friend that works with me, Alice, And Alice and I were having this conversation, and I said, yeah, everything that's happening with the climate, it's pretty scary. Well, this lovely older woman, she was in the store shopping. I didn't mean her to hear me. She says, you got that right. And I was kind of surprised, because I don't typically talk about that stuff in the store. Well, I actually went over and talked to her. She's 68 years old, and she's from Michigan. And she completely understands what's going on at the Mackinac Straits. And she is somebody who said to me, the Lord is trying to give us a message by giving, the climate, by the fires and the floods, but she did not say anything more than that we have to stop fossil fuel use. And it just restored me. I felt so good. And then her daughter came in and we had a conversation, and her daughter reinforced everything she said. These people from Michigan that came in today. And it was like, wow, it made me feel like everything I am doing is worth the effort. Even if I feel like shit, even if my back is killing me, even if my marriage is suffering sometimes because I spend so much time on what I do, it's worth it because of that woman, Louise, and her daughter, both of them. It's worth it. So I'm going to say goodnight. And Wendy, you can use YouTube and Facebook at the same time. I don't know if I can, do the live streams at the same time. I don't know. But anyway, I felt redeemed today, and I felt like it's all worth it. And I have all of you. So that makes a big thing, So good night, guys. I want you all to have a restful, lovely weekend. And I'm going to try. Thank you for coming. And please share, because I can't. Okay? All right. Peace, guys. Good night.